All right, and welcome back to the Mental Toughness and Body Show. My name is Rob Evans, and I am the 1% coach, health and life strategist. And today's conversation might look like it's about organization, decluttering, and getting your home and office in order, but we're going to take it deeper than that because one of the most underestimated drains on your energy and your focus and your consistency is really the environment that you live in, not just the physical environment, but the environment in your headspace as well. The decisions you keep making, the mental load you keep carrying, the subtle chaos that you've really just come to normalize. So today I'm joined by Lisa Woodruff, founder of Organize 365, and she spent years helping people create more structure, clarity, and control in their lives. And in this conversation, what we're going to do is connect organization to performance, not just how to clear your space, but how to remove the hidden friction that's holding you back from operating at your best. So, Lisa, welcome to the show.
Rob, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. And we're talking at opposite ends of the planet, really. So I love technology and how we can do this. So let's jump into it. So most people really see organization as a physical
Mhm.
thing, but I see it really as a performance tool. So from your experience, how much does someone's environment, we'll start with physical environment, actually impact their mental energy and their output on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, science will show that a cleaner, more organized environment is more productive and people have less cortisol, less stress in a more organized environment. With that said, though, it kind of there's a pendulum, right? So some people need to have like every single thing put away exactly where it goes, and then they feel like they are free to sit down and do whatever they need to do for the day. Other people who are more creative may feel like that's too restrictive and they need just a little bit of chaos there in order to get their organizational juices going. I would tend to be one of those that actually needs a little bit more chaos. I need to almost feel overwhelmed in some ways in order to go, okay, fine, then I'm going to not do these things and I'm going to focus on these other things. So, looking just at somebody's environment and seeing if it looks organized to see if they are organized isn't actually the best way to tell if someone's organized. Organization is a feeling. And also, in my studies as a PhD, I realized that organization is one of our executive functions. So, we'll often say that we need good executive function in order to plan and achieve goals. There are actually 8 different things that are part of your executive function, and organization of materials is one of those, even though it's inside of your brain.
Do you think that in my previous life before I do what I do now, I was an auditor and I've been into many directors and CEOs' offices and that kind of stuff. And I've been into many like traditional offices where they've got the computers sort of in the corner of their desk, and their desk is completely piled up with in the old days, I don't know whether people have in trays and out trays now, but and like lever arch files and just loose papers and all that kind of stuff. And you walk in, it's like,
Yeah.
I have no idea how you know what's at the bottom of that pile. But is there a situation that say you walk into that environment? To
Yeah.
me, that automatically says there's no way that you can be organized and structured up here if that is the environment that you're physically in here. But what's
Yeah.
your thought?
So you said auditor, and I also was thinking engineers. Engineers, auditors, mathematicians are extremely logical, ordered in their mind, ordered in their environment. Artists, podcasters, creatives are a little bit more creative.
All over the
They've got,
place.
pieces of everything all over the place.
Yeah.
So I think that you can always get to the point where you no longer have order when it looks cluttered. But sometimes you actually can have order when it looks cluttered to someone else. And I'll give you 2 examples. Number one, um, science shows, every single study shows that when you write things down on paper with your hand, you remember that information deeper. It goes into a different part of your brain, and you actually learn at a different level than if you type on technology or digitally store information. And with AI, we're showing that as people will go and search AI instead of actually doing the research themselves, they forget the information that they've learned super fast. So there is something to actually going and finding that information cognitively and or physically writing it with your hand that moves that information deeper into your brain. I'm a paper person, so I've got paper everywhere, and all of my systems are for organizing paper. And I like to say that we learn and organize in analog. What I mean by that is like if you take notes with pen and paper in a class or in a lecture, you will learn that information deeper than if you're typing it on a keyboard or just typing it into your phone. And then you can move into productivity digitally. So if you have something written on paper, you can hand it to somebody else quickly and they can read it and they can act on it. If you put it into your digital software where you like to store things and someone asks you for information, you need to go retrieve that information and then either electronically or verbally or print out that information to give it to someone else. So I like digital solutions for personal productivity, but for learning and communication, I like analog solutions. I think there's a yes and. And it might surprise you. I did an informal poll when I was working with a bunch of teachers in a school. And I asked them if they were digital only, paper only, or a combination of digital and paper.
Mm.
And it was an equal representation of men and women. There was one person, and he was a man, who was digital only. 49% were paper only, and the remaining 50% were digital and paper in combination. So I think that is surprising for people who are especially digital, but people who have any kind of paper component to what they're doing, you are not alone. A lot of people, we're seeing a big resurgence in analog and taking notes by paper because science will show that it expands your capacity, the amount that you can be looking at one time, and the deepness with which you encode that information.
As you step into, say, larger organizations, do you see that there is pressure to remove that? Though I know what I've personally
Yeah,
done here in my office, I used to have uh, certainly filing cabinets with the old traditional, manila folder
yeah,
in it and stuff.
yeah.
I would have had one, two, three, at least three kind of floor to seal,
Yeah.
well, not ceiling, but like up this high, kind of shelves that were filled with A4 lever arch files. I don't
Yep.
have any of those anymore. I don't have a
Yeah.
printer anymore, and all my communication is either, yeah, well, I do. I type it in, and if anyone wants to give me anything, I say it needs to be in electronic format because I don't print anything or do anything now. So, is there pressure in some organizations to, yeah, maybe they just don't have a printer anymore, and does that make them less maybe useful in terms of how they're, I don't know, the
I
information
think so.
retained and so
I
forth.
think so. Yeah, and that may be surprising, maybe not what you were expecting. I don't think we need to have, lateral file after lateral file after lateral file because nobody's referencing that kind of information. Like archival information stored digitally is actually easier to retrieve. But if
Mm.
it's in action, if it's a project in action, I really like a paper component, both for ease of work, but also for communication. So here's a great example. I was working with a client, this is about a decade ago. And she was in a company, big company, and it was faltering. The company had lots of disgruntled clients that were leaving. The management was, at odds with each other, and she was in charge of a division of onboarding new clients. And they were offboarding before she could even get them onboarded. And she had a small team, and she said, "Lisa, I need a bigger team, but I can't get my boss to give me more people." And I said, "Okay, we're going to solve this problem." I said, "I want you to go in your email and I want you to print out all of your emails for and organize them by client in binders by color." And she's like, "Do you know how long this is going to take me?" I was like, "Do it." She was like, "Okay." So she printed all of her emails and she had, I don't know, 25 clients. And then she color coded every client. Red was like, this person is like writing bad Google reviews and on their way out. And green is, this is a brand new person, has no idea what they're coming into. And we want to keep this client. And she did them all. And she put them in three ring binders, red, orange, yellow, green, all the way down. And then she walked with all these binders into her leader. And she said, "Okay, here are the people that we're offboarding. Here are the people that are starting to offboard. Here are the people that are faltering. Here are our new people. And this is what our team is managing." And he said, "What do you need?" And she said, "I need four more people because they're all going to be red by the end of the month if you don't give me more people." She had the permission to hire two people that day, and they worked in the budget for two more people 2 months later because she was able to quantify with paper what she was doing digitally and what her team was experiencing. There was no weight to it, there was no visual representation. As soon as there was a visual representation where the boss could see, oh my gosh, this is a problem, they were like, okay, you can have the people. But she'd been asking for people for a long time. And so a lot
Mm.
of times, this physical representation of the mental load and the mental work we're doing is really helpful.
You mentioned before about like stress, overwhelm, and like stress is healthy, but there's different types of
Yeah.
stress, and to the point where it's like, okay, I'm so stressed, I just need to have the
Yes.
world
You just
suck me
sucked down.
under. Um, how much do you think
Yeah.
what people call stress and overwhelm is really about unstructured environments or just having too many open loops in their life that they're just like they've yeah, I don't know. I have some people in my life that just seem to love chaos for the sake of chaos. Oh, I'm so busy, I'm so
Yeah.
busy, I'm so busy. It's like they're juggling
Yeah.
8 balls, but they're actually not doing anything. They're just busy for the sake of being busy. So, yeah, I'm just interested in your thoughts.
Yeah, so this is actually the subject of my dissertation. So my dissertation is on prospective memory, which is the memory of remembering things you need to do, like basically your to-do list. How
Hmm.
do you remember to complete things on your to-do list? And it's actually a kind of memory we have called prospective memory, while also getting done what you need to be doing now, which is working memory. And in my dissertation, it was all women, and I asked them age 18 to 65, do you do distributed cognition? Meaning, do you set reminders, use a digital or electronic calendar, write a to do list, write notes down by hand? And we found that people who do that, who write things down by hand, are more likely to remember the tasks that they need to do. So instead of trying to remember them in your head, like using your environment, distributing to the environment to get them done. The other thing we found was that people who have higher perspective memory strength, meaning that they are more likely to do what they want to do on time and hit and achieve their goals, started out the day with much less anxiety than everyone else. Like at baseline, they had no anxiety compared to other people who would wake up and they're fighting fires from, minute one. They start with a higher anxiety. But as the day goes on and as the open loops continue to stay open, the people who have stronger perspective memory actually grow in stress faster than people who don't have good perspective memory because they started with high stress to begin with. So you can start out the day like, I feel like this is great. I'm going to win the world. And then a couple of balls get dropped and you have a couple of open loops and you're at lunchtime going, okay, guess I'll have the 14th coffee and work late tonight. That happens to everyone. So we can have good environmental strengths in how we organize our space or how we cognitively offload the tasks we need to do. But at the end of the day, we all are going to hit a tipping point where we're just a human, we're not a robot. And um, luckily, we get to go to sleep and wake up the next day and start all over again.
So from that, are you saying that what you've noticed is that those people that we'll just say goals for simplicity that start their day knowing what the outcomes are because whether they've gone to bed knowing that okay, this
Yep.
is what I need to do first thing in the morning, they are less likely to be thrown off track through the day because they know what they're at as what they're aiming for as opposed to the person that doesn't do that and it's like chaos from day one. I'm sorry, from minute one, they're running late, the alarm's gone off, they've hit snooze, they've got to wash their hair, do whatever. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. And also, there's another study that I based my study on that was really cool. It was done in the work environment and it looked at two different kinds of planning. So, mental toughness. We're into all this kind of planning on this podcast. One is time management planning. That's like calendar blocking and knowing when you're going to get done what you want to get done. The
Hmm.
second one is contingency planning. And that's super, super important, especially for female household managers because you're managing a household and you're managing work. So, contingency planning is when you look at your week and you say, okay, but if, I have to have an extra meeting, or if that person doesn't get their report to me on time, or if my parent who is already sick actually needs me to take a day off and help them, how am I still going to get my work done? Like, do I have flexibility and how do I move those tasks around so I'll be able to get it done? And they found that people who do both, they do time management and contingency planning, had a much higher likelihood of setting and attaining their goals for the week. However, this is the important part, Rob. they would only achieve their goals 4 out of 5 days. So 20% of the time, even if you do the best planning possible, you're not going to be able to achieve our goals. And I think that's important for us to hear because, those of us that are goal oriented, like we want to hit and set and achieve our goals every single day. Like there are no sick days. I remember I was meeting with my chair for my dissertation. She said, "Are you sick?" I said, "No, I'm sick from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. And right now it's 2 o'clock. So I'm not sick right now." And I had a fever and everything. She was like, "All right, I guess we're just going to keep going." And that's how we are. We're going to do whatever it takes because
Yeah.
we have mental toughness and we are going to set and achieve our goals and we're called to lead people. But we also need to recognize we are humans. We are not robots and life happens. And so if you're winning 80% of the time, A plus for you.
Yeah. I think what also certainly helps me is making sure that I have scheduled at night time. I just call it like
Hmm.
downshifting so that I can leave work there and then before I'm ready to go to sleep, so I try and get to sleep by 9:30 or 10 o'clock. I've spent at least, hopefully at least half an hour, but 15 minutes to half an hour more if I can. Maybe that's on the weekend to just do the thing that I know that is going to calm me down. Normally, I usually watch a lot of things on TV, but there might be there's something going on the TV in the background, whether it's music playing or whether it's a movie or something. I'm not really watching it, but it's just there. And I am either planning out the day tomorrow lightly, or I'm reading something that just helps fill me up and realize that, well, tomorrow's coming, but I need to make sure that I'm at calm and at peace with myself so that I can continue to perform at a really high level the next day, knowing what it is that I'm going into to do tomorrow.
Yeah, I find the same thing. I'm 54 now, and like before my 50s, I would just burn the candle at both ends.
Mm.
And when I started my PhD at the age of 50, I was like, okay, I'll just stay up till midnight. I'll get up at 5 a.m. And like halfway through, I was like, all right, well, I guess if it doesn't get done between 6:30 a.m. and 7:30 p.m., it's just not going to get done because I can't do that anymore. Like I have much more cognitive capacity during the day than I've ever had in any other decade of my life, but I cannot go nonstop anymore. I just can't do it. And so I have an ending time too. And I think it's as important to know when you're not going to work as it is to find out when you are going to work.
Well, I certainly find that when you run your own business,
Yeah.
you have to be very clear on that because there's always something to do. And you're more driven than an employee type mindset. So you want to like go, go, go. I woke up at 2:27 this morning and I thought, oh, it feels like 5 a.m. I might as well get up. And the hard part for that high performance mindset is no, don't get up, try to get back to sleep, count sheep, think about fluffy kittens or something to calm you and just get you back to sleep. But one of the things on the body side of things, like I turned 58 this year. And one of the things that I notice just with my own workouts and everything when I do strength training, it does take me longer to recover between workouts now the sleep is more precious now because you need to recover and you really only get rid of a lot of that stress through the deep
Yeah.
sleep, which ideally
Hmm.
happens between before midnight. It's around that midnight.
Right.
So, and like if you can get 60 to 90 minutes of that, then you're probably, world class. And that doesn't sound like much, but that's just how it works. So we do need to protect that. Otherwise, we do just continue to, it's like chopping down a tree. It's like one chop a day where you just I'm a little bit tired today. I'm a little bit tired. And by the end of the
Yes.
week, if you're not giving back to yourself, you're really, you're really messed up. One of the things I often talk to people about, so I have a client-facing business, is this thing, I don't know whether I just invented it or not, but I call it schedule fatigue whereby
Okay.
I work 6 days. Well, I work 7 days a week, but I have 6 days of client facing time. And Sunday is my strategy day and giving back to me day without a schedule, heaven forbid. Um, and so what I find is every half hour of my day, including this interview right here, is measured in like half hour types of blocks.
Yeah.
And by the end of the week, like I've had a busy week. I might have done 40 to 50 coaching sessions. And it's like, okay, well, I know that I've
Wow.
got, I'm constantly looking at the time. Like it's 8:10 here. I know by 8:30 I've got to get changed and get to my next thing, right?
Hmm.
And when you're living your life, and I've done this for 17 years now, you do get sometimes that decision, oh, sorry, not decision fatigue, schedule fatigue because
Yeah.
you're so structured on what time
Mm.
this is what, and it's just part of my DNA now. It's like, okay, it's that time. Do I have time now? Sometimes I have bigger blocks, like I do from late this morning through to late this afternoon, where I've got a bigger block of my time. But I'm constantly, I've got to see what the time is, what's coming next. Right, I've got to get this done because then I've got a coaching session coming up. So, um, obviously not a physical thing, but it has a physical impact. But are you interested on your perspective?
Yeah, I have not heard of that. So I do think that you created it. As far as I'm concerned, you
You can
created
use
it.
it.
Uh, great. And I would say that so I started scheduling everything about 5 years ago. I think it was when COVID started, actually. So 6 years ago. Like I can look back and I can tell you every single thing I've done since 2020, including in my personal life. So I have a personal calendar, I have a forward-facing work calendar, I have an internal work calendar, and then I have a bazillion other kind of calendars. And so I know where all of my time has gone. I did that for a couple reasons. One, when COVID happened, I wanted to make sure that like the company survived, right? You remember that. And then my daughter had a baby and lives with us, and so I wanted to make sure I was giving enough time to my husband, my daughter, and the baby, and our son, who are adults. And so I kind of started tracking that time just, just so for my, they always say they don't get enough of my time. I'm like, actually, this is how much time I've spent with you. So for my own knowing that, like, no, I really am prioritizing time with my adult children and husband. And then when I wanted to get the PhD, I was like, can I find 25 hours a week to get a PhD for 3 years? So I calendar blocked that ruthlessly. And now we've got a second grandbaby and on with other things. So I am right where you are, Rob. I also have schedule fatigue. I like that I know where all my time has gone, but I don't really have many pockets where it's just like, I'm going to take a walk or read a book or
Mm,
scroll Netflix or like whatever I want to do. And I wonder if we have schedule fatigue for a couple reasons. I'll just throw out some ideas. One, I think we've been very scheduled for very long, and we don't tend to schedule just like nothing time.
mm,
Although I like being scheduled and I like being productive. And then also, I just wonder. I am on X quite a little bit, and I hear people talking about how it kind of feels like January 2020 again in a lot of ways. Like, there's just like a lot of uncertainty right now, what's going on
yeah.
with oil in the world, and it's just a lot of uncertainty. Not that there's like this virus coming in is going to take us out, but just seems like we're going to have something happen. And so with that uncertainty, I think that that is really fatiguing. I remember in the beginning of COVID, even though we were working at home and not like exerting as much effort, I went
No
to bed
one
at eight
knew what was
o'clock and
going
I
to
slept
happen.
until 8. I was sleeping so much because I was so tired just trying to cognitively process. I think also processing AI, how AI is working, what you want to do with AI, how people are feeding you junk AI and then other AI is good. I just think there's a lot of cognitively that we're doing
Mm.
that is wearing us down as humans, and we need more rest time right now.
Yeah, well, that kind of leads into like decision fatigue, doesn't it? And I think
Yeah.
we've never lived in a time where we have access to so many
Right.
tools that
Yeah.
enable us to do great things, but also enable us to waste as much time as we
Yes.
really want to allow us to. You
Yeah.
mentioned Netflix. There, I don't even have Netflix, but the amount of time that I hear people spend
Yeah.
on, I don't know at which era this concept of binge watching came into play. And I remember when I first heard it, I said, "What's that? Is that a show?" It's like, no, that's like sitting down and watching 6 hours of Netflix and stuff. So how can you do that? But yeah, we've got, and then you've got the uncertainty, like here in Australia. I mean, I'm in Melbourne here. It's one of the most expensive cities in the world to live now because of inflation. Our state government here, we're one of the most heavily taxed, areas of the world as well. Our young people, like my daughter, she's the nightmare thinking about how is she and her boyfriend going to be able to afford to buy a home and all that kind
Right.
of stuff, as well as getting jobs and all of that. There's a lot going on.
Hmm.
And so one of the things that I'm very conscious of now, and I didn't used to do this, and maybe this is part of wisdom of age, is making sure that I do block out that time for me to yeah, do my workouts, go for a walk, and
Hmm.
use AI to do strategy work while I'm walking, so I can kill two birds with one stone. But and that time at night time and on weekends, I block it out. It's actually called block out on my calendar, where it's just for me time. So nobody can book in that because people can book in all around the world for, and they can steal a slot or whatever. And it's like, gee, I've got to make sure I block that out. Otherwise, I'll be up at 5 a.m. doing a podcast with Lisa. Um, so I think, yeah, there's the schedule fatigue. I think the decision fatigue. It's like we've got so many decisions we need to make on a daily basis. It's making it just harder for us in some ways if you allow it to overrun you, right?
Yeah, and I think we have the ability to know so much, and yet we don't have much power to do anything about that. And people who listen to this podcast, we're action takers, we're leaders, we're doers. And so the more information you get, like I know all about oil in Australia, which I don't live there, but I know all about it because I was researching it one day. So one of the things that I have started doing is when I find myself going down one of these rabbit trails that I have absolutely no control over whatsoever, I've gone back to audiobooks. I'll go listen to a biography of somebody. I'll go, just go listen to an audiobook and get lost in that book. And I'll get through a couple of books in a weekend instead of TV, instead of going on X, instead of,
Yeah.
scrolling social media. And it's still entertaining, but it's not as disjointed. It's much more of a productive and calming type of entertainment versus a frantic, nervous, anxious, inducing I can't do anything about it. Entertainment.
Yeah. So do you, I assume if like just looking at your background there and everything's color coded and everything,
Yeah.
I'm assuming that if we saw like a down shot of your desk right now, it wouldn't be really messy. Would that be safe to say? Or
No, it is messy.
your
We
mouth is
should show
saying
it.
something different.
No, I'm a paper person, Rob. Here's the emails we've sent back and forth. Here's a little note card I'm going to make at the end of this podcast. This is the next podcast I'm going to do. Like, no, I'm a paper girl. Like, there's paper on this desk.
But you can have paper
But
but still be orderly, right?
it is orderly and it ends up going in, these all these are products that I've created in order to create systems for household managers. At office, we have a lot of products. For school, we have a lot of school supplies, but at home we don't. And so I actually teach people how to like organize their paper piles and color code them by projects that they do and their roles inside of the household. And yeah.
So what I was going to ask is, do you find that, say, it doesn't really matter whether it's digital or paper, but say it's organized for them,
Mhm.
find that that then carries across to, say, if you were to, say, pull apart each element of their life, whether it be relationships, their health, wealth creation, et cetera, do you find that that is consistent? Or like if it's messy there, it's going to be, it's pretty much going to be a bit messy everywhere because one thing
Oh,
follows.
I like that. Yeah. Okay. So what I usually say is, especially for a household manager, so to run a household is like running a business. 68% of US GDP is household spending. So we are an economic entity as household managers, whoever's running your household. You have to do finance, you have to do operations, you have to do maintenance, cleaning, housework. Like there's 28 hours worth of work that you do without children inside of a household. So it takes a lot to run a household. And there are all these different things you need to do. And one of the things that you need to do is actually organize the physical spaces like you're talking about. And
Mhm.
I like to say that when you have an unexpected event, let's say your mom calls and she just fell and broke her hip, or you come down with COVID for a week, or whatever it is, and all of a sudden your life comes to a screeching halt. The level of organization you have in every area of your life, in your personal physical health, in the way that your house looks, in the way that your paper is maintained, and your to-dos and your information for your life and your business are all maintained. You are at that level of organization for whatever that trial and tribulation is. And then at the end of that event, you can get more organized before the next one, but you can't get organized in the midst of the crisis. So, like, the body show, if I were to get sick right now, I can't also work out and become healthier. Like I'm doing Pilates right now to have a strong core and to grow my muscles so that I'm less likely to fall. And if I do fall, then the muscle strength that I have will help me recover faster. And my core will help me, fall in a safer way than if my bones were more brittle. But you can't, once you've fallen, you can't be like, now I'm going to eat better and work out. So organization is the same way. You may have everything organized for work, but not home. You may have everything organized in your closet and your kitchen, but not your whole house. And it takes quite a while to get your whole entire house organized. Taking it back to the body, it takes quite a while to go from eating fast food all the time and working 14-hour days, which is what I did, to tracking macros, doing Pilates 3 times a week, trying to get your steps in. Like, I've been on this journey for 5 or 6 years, and I'm just barely scratching the surface of having a really healthy body versus what I had before. Organization is the same. You're going to get organized in one area of your life, and then it's going to go the next and the next and the next and the next. It takes about 18 months to 3 years to get your entire home physically organized, the information organized, and you're thinking like a CEO in your household.
Yeah. Yeah, nice. With when you first start working with somebody and they're, let's just say you say they're disorganized, how much of that do you think is perhaps avoidance or
Mm.
procrastination? Because they know, but let's face it, most people know, let's say it's a messy desk, messy home life, whatever. They know they know what to do. They know that, oh, well, I should pick that up. You look at hoarders, for instance, and how, you see those horrible pictures and think, how did you get to that stage? So most people know that, yeah, I should be doing those things. But is it a case of just avoidance, procrastination, not knowing where to start? What do you see?
Okay. So I actually don't think they know how. So I think that we do know how to organize our closet because there are a gajillion, bajillion people on Pinterest and Instagram and everywhere that show you how to organize a closet. But there are very few people who tell you how to organize a storage room. And for me, a storage room is a prepaid store. Storage room, a prepaid store. If you go in your storage room, does it look like a store? Probably not. All the storage rooms that I've organized are empty boxes and piles of stuff and things that should have been returned or broken things or things you should have discarded a long time ago. When I help you organize a storage room, we get rid of all of that, and then whatever is left goes into bins on plastic shelving, and it looks like a store. Because these are things you're saving because you might need them someday, and or you're saving them for future kids or for whatever reason. And this actually, once you get organized and you move houses, this will be the first area that's organized in the next house because it has an organizational framework and its structure. Many things in households don't have organizational frameworks and structures. They don't exist. So, specifically, women who are organizing their homes get stuck in a lot of areas because they don't have a picture of what done looks like. They don't have a friend to ask how to do this. How do you
Mm,
organize paper in a household? How do you settle an estate? Like that's what I had to do in my 30s to settle my dad's estate. And I was like, where do you even start? Like you aren't born knowing how to do these things. You have to learn how to do these things. Now in business, there are so many business coaches and structures and setting up, how do you set up sales and marketing and operations and finance and doing quarterly planning and all of those things. It's very easy and very quick to find that kind of information on a podcast, read a book, and start to DIY implementing that. And as you have market success and you have product market fit, you invest in masterminds and coaches and you get better and better and better and refine your craft. Where is that for households? It doesn't really exist. That's what I created in Organized 365, like a classroom for how you run your household. There are certain areas where you know how to clean out your refrigerator. You know how to do your grocery shopping and get your groceries in the house. But do you really know how to organize the laundry room or the tools or the paper in the file cabinet? Some of those things need more explicit instruction, and so that's sometimes what's missing.
If somebody is feeling overwhelmed right now, what would you say is a simple reset that they could start with this week to help them immediately feel more in control?
Yeah, so for me, when I'm feeling reactive and like the world is happening to me and I'm not in control, then I do a 15-minute reset at night and I start to plan out the next day. And that's the way that I get back in control again. I look at my calendar. I have a whole 10-step process. You can go to organize365.com/pivot. We've got it printable and the 10 steps, and there's a link to the podcast episode that'll show you how to do just that.
Wonderful. So, Lisa, I'm going to ask you one more question in a
Okay.
second, but you've just told us how people can get in touch with you. I'm going to put that link below in the description here so people can reach out. You're based in the US, but you do work with people all around the world, and the
Mhm.
tool you just suggested can be used anywhere. I want to thank you for today. It's been fascinating insight, and it's a like different way of looking at. It's so fundamental. You might think you've got your
Hmm.
life organized in the office, whether your office is at home or off site somewhere. But sometimes stepping into your home, you don't really take into account the structure that you put in another environment into what you do in the home. And certainly when it comes to men living by themselves, I know you've focused on women being the home carers, but there's a lot of men out there that are doing this too,
Hmm.
and they have no clues because men are pretty silly. So we have no clues. But I want to thank you. I'm going to give you the final word in a second, but I want to thank you so much for today's great conversation and all the tips that you've added there for people. And final question, what would you say is the best advice you've ever received?
Well, thank you so much for having me, Rob. This has been a great conversation. I really have liked it, getting to know you better and being able to talk with your audience. I would say the best advice I've ever been given is to not take yourself so seriously. My dad always said, everyone is replaceable at work, even the boss. So don't take yourself so seriously.
Yeah, I love that. I do think that, as we go through life and what we talked about earlier about the uncertainty
Hmm.
and so forth, I do think there's so much pressure, and it's like we're in a
Hmm.
vice, the old style vices that you wind up, and it's like it just seems to get tighter and tighter on us. And I think we forget the concept of fun and play.
Yes.
And I think that's so important to keep your sense of humor and your sense of who you are and know that, well, you're not indispensable. Doesn't matter who you are. And yeah, you've got to just love the journey. I find you've got to
Yeah.
love what it is that we're doing. Don't just focus on the future. Learn to love what it is that you're doing right now, I reckon.
Yeah, I agree. And having conversations with real people. We're going to get our tasks done faster and faster with AI. But the more we get automated, the more real conversations, I think are take priority for me. Like I just love talking with people and sharing ideas and having conversations, I'm sure has sparked so many different conversations inside of people's minds that they were listening. And that's where the true future comes from.
You've got to have the human interaction for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much again, Lisa, and I look forward to speaking with you again.
Thanks.